Sāti, son of the fisherman, still obstinately adhered to that pernicious view and continued to insist upon it. Since the monks were unable to detach him from that pernicious view, they went to the Blessed One, and after paying homage to him, they sat down at one side and told him all that had occurred, adding, "Venerable Sir, since we could not detach the monk Sāti, son of the fisherman, from his pernicious view, we have reported this matter to the Blessed Ones." So they all went to the Buddha to help Sati to come out of that pernicious view. Then the Blessed One addressed a certain monk thus, "Come, monk, tell the monk Sati, son of a fisherman, in my name, that the teacher calls him." The Buddha gave a message to another monk and he said, "Please call Sati and I'll have a talk with him." "Yes, Venerable Sir," he replied, and he went to the monk Sati and told him, "The teacher calls you, friend Sati." "Yes, friend," he replied, and he went to the Blessed One, and after paying homage to him, sat down at one side. The Blessed One then asked him. Now always, Buddha used to first ask questions to get the right answers. So he had this tendency of asking questions to get the answer. Asked him, "Sati, is it true that the following pernicious view has arisen in you? As I understand the Dhamma taught by the Blessed One, it is the same consciousness that runs and wanders through the rounds of rebirth, not another." So he asked him, "Do you still feel that Blessed One has told you that the same consciousness goes from one birth and wanders through rounds of rebirth and not another? What is that consciousness, Sati?" "Venerable Sir, it is that which speaks and feels and experiences here and there the result of good and bad actions." Now, this statement made by the Sati is very important in the sense how wrong view one can have. And this view was there. There was a belief system in those days also having this view that only one consciousness goes from one birth to another, experiencing here and there the results of good and bad actions. So now also there are many people who feel that the same consciousness goes from here to there. There are still belief systems of such type. Misguided man. So this is a very, in way Buddha really called him, misguided man. "To whom have you ever known me to teach the Dhamma in that way? Misguided man, have I not stated in many ways consciousness to be dependently arisen, since without a condition there is no origination of consciousness?" Now this consciousness, he has many times explained that without there is a condition, there cannot be a consciousness coming up. So if it is the same consciousness going from one thing to another, then it will not be dependent consciousness, right? But every time the consciousness is dependent on something, so how can it go from one birth to the another? "But you, misguided man, have misrepresented us by your wrong grasp and injured yourself and stored up much demerit. For this will lead to your harm and suffering for a long time." Then the Blessed One addressed the monk thus, "Monks, what do you think? Has this monk Sati, son of a fisherman, kindled, ignited even a spark of wisdom in this Dhamma and discipline?" So he asked other monks, has this monk Sati has got a little spark also of Dhamma and discipline, even though he was a monk? How could he, venerable sir? No, venerable sir, replied the other monks. When this was said, the monk Sati, son of a fisherman, sat silent, dismayed, with shoulders drooping and head down, calm and without response. Then, knowing this, the Blessed One told him, misguided man, you will be recognized by your own pernicious view. I shall question the monks on this matter. Now also his name has been taken. The sutta, whenever this sutta has been read, Sati's name has been taken. That is why even that time also Buddha told him, you will be recognized because of your pernicious view, your confused view, your wrong view. Then the Blessed One addressed the monks thus, monks, do you understand the Dhamma taught by me? As this monk Sati, son of a fisherman, does when he misrepresents us by his wrong grasp and injures himself and stores much demerit. No, venerable sir, for in many discourses, the Blessed One has stated consciousness to be dependently arisen, since without a condition, there is no origination of consciousness. Consciousness, you can call it as attention. If there is, we'll go ahead in all this. Good monks, it is good that you understand the Dhamma taught by me thus. For in many ways, I have stated consciousness to be dependently arisen, since without a condition, there is no origination of consciousness. But this monk Sati, son of a fisherman, misrepresents us by a wrong grasp and injures himself and stores up much demerit, for this will lead him to harm and suffering of this misguided man for a long time. Monks. Now he explains in details. Monks. Consciousness is reckoned. Consciousness, you can, a simple, this you can say, attention is reckoned by a particular condition dependent upon which it arises. So yeah, attention always is reckoned by a particular condition dependent upon which it arises. If there is no condition, your attention will not arise, your consciousness will not arise. So every time the consciousness is always dependent on some condition to arise. That is why it is called as dependent origination. So anything that originates or consciousness or takes birth is always dependent on something. Because of our past karmas, this is happening. But now when we are going further towards awakening or towards enlightenment, that is why we are meditating. So we are going to come out of this dependency of originations. We are going to come out that, but we have to understand this dependent origination to come out of it, to seize our originations, to seize our new birth. So when consciousness arises, dependent on I and forms, it is reckoned as I consciousness. Now, any consciousness, any attention, if you have no eyes, supposing an apple has been kept in front of you, and you do not have your eyes, but the apple is there, that I consciousness will never be there. There will be no I consciousness. Only when that apple is being tasted by the tongue, that time you will realize it is an apple. Not because you do not have eyes, so you will not be able to recognize. So I consciousness will not be there if you do not have eyes. So when consciousness arises dependent on eyes and form, it is reckoned as I consciousness. When there are eyes and there's a form, that is, there is an apple, and the consciousness recognizes and cognizes. You cognize that this is an apple. You see that apple. That is the time you will be having I consciousness. Only by seeing the apple with your eye consciousness, you will never know the taste of the apple. For that, you will have to have the tongue consciousness. So every consciousness, you cannot eat the apple with your eyes. So only eye consciousness will arise. When consciousness arises dependent on the eye and the forms, it is reckoned as eye consciousness. When consciousness arises dependent on ear and sound, it is reckoned as ear consciousness. If you do not have ear, and even someone makes a sound or calls you, you will never be able to hear it. You can never be able to hear from your eyes. For that, you need to have ear, the sound, and then only the ear consciousness will arise. Ear attention will arise. When consciousness arises dependent on the nose and odors, it is reckoned as nose consciousness. When consciousness arises dependent on the tongue and flavors, it is reckoned as tongue consciousness. When consciousness arises dependent on the body and tangibles, it is reckoned as body consciousness. So these are the 5 sense doors. So whenever, and you can feel the apple only by touching the apple. You cannot feel the apple by only seeing the apple. Or you cannot know about the apple by, if you do not have eyes and someone says apple, you will never know how apple is, what is the color of the apple. Only by tasting, if you have the tongue consciousness, then you will able to know that this is an apple. By feeling the apple, you touch the apple, then you will come to know this is an apple. This is the shape of an apple. This is how every consciousness depends on every sense door. So it is not the same consciousness. It is a different 5 sense doors consciousness. Now we also have the 6th consciousness. When consciousness arises dependent on the mind and mind objects, it is reckoned as mind consciousness. Now what happens? During meditation, we have closed our eyes. Supposing we have secluded, so there is no sound. You're not tasting anything. There is no body, but you will feel some body pains and all that. That is body consciousness coming up. But the mind, whenever there's a thought coming up in your mind, or the hindrances, and your attention goes to that hindrances, that time the mind object is hindrances. And when you fuel, when we'll go further, how we are fueling those consciousness. If you fuel our consciousness towards hindrances, that will increase. So we do the 6 hours and come back on loving kindness. So our mind consciousness starts working more in meditation. That is how we are working. Just as fire is reckoned by a particular condition dependent on which it burns. Now he has given a simple example about fire. So there are many types of fires. It is not only one fire. So whenever you burn something, if you burn a wood, a log, that will be a log fire. If you burn a grass, that fire is dependent on that grass. So it is called as grass fire. That is how is given the further examples. Even a simple fire thing cannot be the same. It is dependent on different forms. Just as fire is reckoned by the particular condition dependent on which it burns. When fire burns dependent on logs, it is reckoned as log fire. When fire burns dependent on fagots, it is reckoned as fagot fire. When fire burns dependent on grass, it is reckoned as a grass fire. When fire burns dependent on cow dung, it is reckoned as cow dung fire. When fire burns dependent on chaff, it is reckoned as chaff fire. When fire burns dependent on rubbish, it is reckoned as rubbish fire. So too consciousness is reckoned by a particular condition dependent on which it arises. See, by these examples you come to know, even the same fire, It cannot be the same because it is dependent on different things. We call it as a log fire or grass fire or cow dung fire. The same thing, consciousness is reckoned on particular condition dependent on which it arises. So when your eyes are more active, that is when you see things more, that is called as eye consciousness. When your ears are active, you're listening to something, that time your ear consciousness has arisen. So that consciousness, you cannot listen from your eyes, you cannot smell from your ears. So you have to have nose, the fragrance, and then the nose consciousness will arise to recognize the fragrance. When consciousness arises dependent on the eye and forms, it is reckoned as eye consciousness. When consciousness arises dependent on ear and sound, it is reckoned as ear consciousness. When consciousness arises dependent on the nose and odors, it is reckoned as nose consciousness. So again and again, he's giving these examples so to make things more clear. When consciousness arises dependent on tongue and flavors, it is reckoned as tongue consciousness. Supposing someone gives you to taste something, first you will see the thing, then you put it on your tongue, and then there's a smile. So your attention has gone on the tongue. So there's a consciousness arises in your tongue. First you see the any food item, you see it. That time you see the colors of the food and you feel very nice. Let me taste it. For that, you cannot taste it with your eyes. That time only eye consciousness has grasped. It has seen the colors, but you cannot feel it. It has to touch your tongue to taste whether it is sweet or it is sour or it is spicy. Only by seeing the colors, you cannot recognize the taste. So you need to have this tongue flavor, tongue consciousness to arises, which depends upon the tongue and the flavors. It is reckoned as tongue consciousness. When consciousness arises, depend on the body and tangible. So whenever there are tangible things and you're touching those tangible things, it is reckoned as body consciousness. When consciousness arises dependent on the mind and mind objects, it is reckoned as mind consciousness. Monks, do you see this has come to be? Yes, Venerable Sir. Monks, do you see its origin occurs with that as nutriment? So the origin of that consciousness occurs with the nutriment. Nutriment is that fuel, the consciousness. Origin occurs with the consciousness when there is an attention given to that. Yes, Venerable Sir. Monks, do you see with the cessation of that nutriment, what has come to be is subject to cessation. If there is no nutriment, no attention given to it, then there is no consciousness arising. So you need the object, the sense base, you need. So the contact is very important. You need the sense base, you need the sense object, and you need the consciousness. Then these three, then there is a contact. And then there is a, so nutriment is the attention. What is the nutriment? For an eye, it's color and form. If you have the eyes and there is no color, there is no form, there will be no eye consciousness. So for the ear, what is the nutriment? It has to be a sound. Then only the attention will go over there. So the nutriment is the fuel. There is something that should happen. And then only your consciousness. If you have ears, but there is no sound, completely soundproof, you are sitting in a cabin where is soundproof. So you will not have this sound. So the nutriment is sound for a ear consciousness to arise. Monks, does doubt arise when one is uncertain thus? Has this come to be? when a person is uncertain about anything. So that is how the doubt arises. Has this come to be? Yes, Venerable Sir. Monk, does doubt arise when one is uncertain? Does its origin occur with that as nutriment? When there is uncertainty, so that is the nutriment for doubt to arise. Yes, whenever we are uncertain about things, definitely doubt is going to arise. So the nutriment for the doubt to arise is uncertainty. Monks, does doubt arise when one is uncertain? Thus, with the cessation of that nutriment is what has come to be subject to cessation. So if there is uncertainty, doubt will arise. If the uncertainty has gone, doubt will cease. Yes, Venerable Sir. Monks, is doubt abandoned in one who sees as it actually is with proper wisdom? Thus, this has come to be. So whenever there's a wisdom and whenever you see that this is there is no doubt about it. So definitely uncertainty is not there, then the doubt will also cease away. Because you see the things actually in a very proper way. Yes, Venerable Sir. So now the doubt about I consciousness and this consciousness with the pernicious view that the Sati had, is talking about all this. Monks, is doubt abandoned in one who sees as it actually is with proper wisdom? Thus, its origination occurs with that as nutriment. So whenever you see something which is actually there, and there's no more doubt about it, no more uncertainty about it, so definitely the doubt will also cease. Yes, Venerable Sir. Monks, is doubt abandoned in one who sees as it actually is with proper wisdom? Thus, with the cessation of that nutriment, what has come to be is the subject to cessation. With the cessation of uncertainty, cessation of doubt has also come to be. Yes, Venerable Sir. Monks, you are thus free from doubt here. This has come to be. Now there is no more doubt because you are certain about what actually you are having and you have the wisdom about it. So you're free from doubt. Yes, Venerable Sir. Monks, you are thus free from the doubt here. Its original occurs with that as nutriment. Yes, Venerable Sir. Monks, are you thus free from doubt here? With the cessation of that nutriment, what has come to be is subject to cessation. Yes, Venerable Sir. Monks, has it been seen well by you as it actually is with proper wisdom? Thus, this has come to be. What he's doing is he's asking if they have the direct experience. So only when you have the direct experience about anything, then there are no doubts. Yes, Venerable Sir. Monks, has it been seen well by you as it actually is with proper wisdom? Thus, its origin occurs with that as nutriment. So Buddha is asking these questions crisscross from all the things to see whether they have any doubt about this pernicious view which Sati had told him. Yes, Venerable Sir. Monks, has it been seen well by you as it actually is with proper wisdom? Thus, with the cessation of that nutriment, what has come to be is subject to cessation. So there is no sound, you cannot have if you have the ears, but there is no sound. So the sound is nutriment for the ear consciousness to arise. So there is no doubt your ear consciousness will never arise if there is no sound. If there is nothing to taste, there will be no tongue consciousness arising. If there is nothing to see, there will be no eye consciousness arising. Monks, has it been seen well by you as it actually is with proper wisdom? Thus, with the cessation of that nutriment, what has come to be is subject to cessation. Yes, Venerable Sir. Monks, purified and bright as this view is, if you adhere to it, cherish it, treasure it, and treat it as a possession. You then understand that the Dhamma has been taught as similar to a raft, being for the purpose of crossing over, not for the purpose of grasping. So here he has given a very important viewpoint about Dhamma. It is like a raft. So all these understandings that we are having about dependent origination, about Four Noble Truths and everything, they are like a raft to cross, not for grasping. If you're grasping, you hold on to Dhamma. Again, that is again a clinging. So it is a raft, it's an understanding. When you understand things, then you pass out. Like how we go to school and colleges. We learn things. Out of that, our wisdom arises, our knowledge arises. We don't hold on to those degrees. We don't hold on to our school or college or our books. We learn it. We grasp it. And we learn it and have this wisdom about it, but not for the purpose of grasping it. We don't keep the textbooks and grasp those things and keep on narrating the same thing. Once we learn, it is just like a raft. Monks, purified and bright as this view is, if you do not adhere to it, cherish it, treasure it, and treat it as a possession, would you then understand that the Dhamma has been taught as similar to a raft, being for the purpose of crossing, not for the purpose of grasping? Yes, Venerable Sir. Monks, there are these 4 kinds of nutriments. Now he has told us about the main general nutriments for the maintenance of being that already have come to be, and for the support of those about to come to be. What for? Now, which are the 4 nutriments required for those beings who have already come, taken a birth, and for the support of those who are about to come to be? What for? They are physical 4 nutriments. Nutriments which require for our mind and body to keep going. That is called the nutriment. They are physical food as nutriment. So we need physical food for our body to live. Gross or subtle. Contact as the second. So we need contact as a nutriment. Mental formations as the third, and consciousness as the fourth. So these are the 4 nutriments which we need for the maintenance of being that have already come to be. First is the physical food, gross or subtle. Contact as the second. If there are no contacts from your any sense doors, there cannot be any nutriments. Mental formations, you need sankharas, mental formations, your volitions. For us to take any step, we need a volition. And the fourth is consciousness as the fourth. Now, monks, these 4 kinds of nutriment have what as their source? What as their origin? From what are they born and produce? These 4 nutriments have craving as their source, craving as their origin. They are born and produce from craving. Basically, we are ourselves take a human birth or any other birth, we take only because of our craving. And once this craving is there, that is why we take a birth. And when we take a birth, we need food to eat. We need contact. We need volition, sankharas, formations, and we need consciousness to carry on till we die. So craving is as I told you, the main sutta is the destruction of craving. So he has mentioned these 4 nutriments. How have they come? Why we take a birth? It's basically because of craving. So how does craving manifest itself? Tension and tightness in the mind and body. That's always how you recognize it, no? Definitely. This is why craving is a weak link in the dependent origination. So this is the link. Main is craving. If there is no craving, there is no more birth. But only because we have been craving, that is where we are in this cycle of birth and rebirth. Because it is not something that easy to observe and relax. So craving is a very weak. That is why I really appreciate Bhante Vimal Ramsi has made this 6 hours where you relax this tightness and tension. Craving, we cannot recognize craving in this dependent origination link. When we recognize there's a tightness and tension in our mind, that is craving. That is why this relaxed step is so important, very important, to relax yourself from any craving. We have to come back to our body, relax, that release, relax the tightness, tension, release the subject, relax yourself. That is how we has recognized that is tightness and tension is craving. It's not very particular, it's not very hard to let go by once you recognize the craving and start relaxing yourself. Craving has a feeling as its source. Now we'll be discussing. Now he has discussed from this craving, he has gone back. So today we'll complete from craving, we go reverse, how this craving arises. Craving has feeling as its source, feeling as its origin. It is born and produced from feeling. Now, how do we recognize craving? I told you, tightness and tension. So tightness and tension itself is feeling. So whenever we start feeling tightness and tension, that means there is a craving in our mind. And this feeling has what as its source, what as its origin, from what is it born and produced? Now we go back. This craving has come because of feeling. Feeling is whatever bodily sensations that we have, those are feelings. So whenever there's a tightness and tension, we start craving, we actually crave for the feelings and not the outside object. So whenever there's a tightness and tension in our mind, we should understand that there's a craving. And how this craving, how this feeling, and what is this feeling? And what does it arise? What is the origin of the feeling? So feeling contact as a source. Only when there's a contact, either on the eye or on the nose or on the tongue, any of the 5, 6 sense doors, or a thought in the mind, there's a trigger. Now, till feelings, everything that comes, that is because of our past actions. We cannot change that. A feeling comes. Why it comes? Because there's a contact. These contacts, why some people have certain types of contacts, some people come to certain types of contacts or experiences. Because of everyone's past actions, these contact come to be. So feeling arises as soon as there's a contact. Feeling has contact as its source, contact as its origin. It is born and produced from contact. And this contact has what as its source, what as its origin, from what is it born and produced? Contact has 6-fold base as its source, the 6-fold base as its origin. It is born and produced from the 6-fold base. Only because there are eyes, we have eye contacts. Because we have nose contacts. So this 6 sense base, the tongue, the body, the ears, and the mind. So contact depends upon these 6 sense bases. 6-fold base. And the 6-fold base has what as its source, what as its origin, from what is it born and produced? The 6-fold base has mentality and materiality as its source. Mentality, materiality as its form, origin. It is born and produced from mentality and materiality. That is Nama Rupa. Mentality is Nam. You have a mind and you have a body. You have a body, that is why you have this six sense doors. And one is five sense doors, and one is mind. So mentality is the mind, and materiality is the rest of the five sense base. And this mentality and materiality has what as its source, what as its origin, from what is it born and produced? Mentality and materiality has consciousness as its source, consciousness as its origin. It is born and produced from consciousness. Only when you have this consciousness as its base, then only there will be a mind, then only there will be a body. If there is no consciousness, even there will be a body, but that will not be a working body, it is a dead body. So you need this consciousness to have a live body and a mind. So the base of mentality and materiality is consciousness as its source, consciousness as its origin. It is born and produced from consciousness. And this consciousness has what as its source, what as its origin, from what is it born and produced? Consciousness has formation as its formation, you can say as a volition or sankharas. You need this push of sankharas for this consciousness. So consciousness has formation as its source, formation as its origin, and it is born and produced from formations. And these formations, you can say, again I'm saying, formations are volitions. I will explain you all this in one example. And these formations have what as its source, what as its origin, from what are they born and produced. Formations have ignorance as their source, ignorance as their origin. They are born and produced from ignorance. Ignorance is when we are not aware of Four Noble Truths. Now, when we have generalized all these things, see, we come to know what is consciousness. Because of ignorance, consciousness arises. In a simple example, everyone has different types. Because of their formations, they have different types of consciousness arising, seeing the same view. For example, if the whole family goes to a party or to a wedding place, or if you not family, you can say five friends, they go to a wedding together. Now everyone's formations are different. Accordingly, those consciousnesses will arise. Supposing one lady who is very fond of jewelry, her consciousness, eye consciousness, will be on everybody, whomever she meets. Her eye consciousness will arise seeing the different types of jewelries. She will be able to recognize this jewelry, that jewelry, or who is wearing something else, or who is wearing something else, what is the design, everything. The same lady has been met by other friends also. But if another friend who is more fond of the clothes, her eye consciousness is over there. So she will just be seeing what is there, what clothes people are wearing, or whomever they meet. So what type of sari or what type of dresses they are wearing. Because the same eye consciousness is there everywhere, but the volition of everyone is different. The sankharas are different. So some will be more trending towards what is there to eat in the wedding. Some people will be more, okay, what is something good to touch and tangible things, where they will go and feel. Supposing there's a statue, so they will go and feel the statue or anything. They will feel. So everyone is having different, in the same place, same wedding, but everyone, because of their past sankharas, past conditioning of their mind, that type of consciousness will arise. That will be more predominating consciousness. Some will be listening to the music which is being played in that wedding party. So they are more inclined towards that. So their attention goes over there. That consciousness arises over there. Some people will not even notice that music is going on. Their more attention is towards the food. It all depends. So they're having different consciousness depending upon their volition, their formations. So monks, with ignorance as condition, formations come to be. Now, whenever people are ignorant, that is how we go into all this and how we suffer because of ignorance. We are not with the actual reality. Now, what is the actual reality? Whatever you see with your six sense doors, whatever you, there's a feeling. And if you're equanimous, if you're doing 6 hours, you're equanimous and you're relaxed, then that consciousness will not arise, or that will not go towards craving, and you will come out of suffering. So monks, with ignorance as conditions, formations come to be. The same types of formation, the same type of volition, they come to be because of we are ignorant about everything. With formations as conditions, when you have those types of volitions, that type of consciousness comes to be. With consciousness as condition, mentality and materiality come to be. With mentality and materiality as condition, the sixfold base comes to be. And then we have this mind, we have this sense doors. With sixfold base as condition, contact comes to be. When we have the six sense doors, definitely there will be a contact. And till here, with contact as condition, feeling comes to be. Now, when there is a contact, when we have the I as the sense base, we have the form as a sense based object, and then that consciousness comes. And after that, there is a feeling. Till here, we are conditioned by our past actions or by our past karmas. Now is the time, whenever this feeling comes to be, if we are ignorant or if we are ignorant, and then we start craving for the feelings, then we go into again birth cycles and suffering. But if you start doing 6 hours and start relaxing those feelings, there is no tightness and tension. We start relaxing those feelings. Whenever there's a contact, we start immediately, if you are able to relax, release and relax, then we are taking a path towards freedom. So till here, nothing is in our hand. Till contact, we have, they come because of our past karmas. But henceforward, so feeling is a place. That is why Bhante keeps on telling, come to this, your body, relax those tightness, tensions. We'll keep relaxing, relaxing those feelings. And take your attention towards loving kindness feeling. This is how we are going to reduce our volitional habitual tendencies. With contact as condition, feeling comes to be. With feeling as condition, craving comes to be. Whenever there's a feeling, then we start craving for those feelings. With craving as condition, clinging starts to be. When there's a craving, we start making big stories about it and cling towards our cravings. With clinging as condition, being comes to be. So that habitual tendency, becoming, comes to be. Habitual tendency. With habitual tendencies as condition, birth comes to be. So there's a birth of action, or we have this physical birth. So whenever, for example, when a person, suppose if you continue with the same example, a person has gone to a wedding and she sees jewelry, someone wearing, and her eye consciousness arises. And there's a feeling, what a jewelry. And then she wants that jewelry. So it is the craving has started and the clinging. Yes, if she has and even I have. So there's a jealousy or whatever, there's a competition. So this starts and we start craving for the feeling, not for the jewelry, but that I want that jewelry. So there's a feeling that I want it. Starts craving and clinging for that. And definitely then the further the suffering is going to start. Even if she has that jewelry, still there will be a fear that she'll be losing that jewelry. And how long that jewelry is going to give that happiness? If even she gets that own jewelry, she wears that jewelry. But that doesn't mean that you'll become happy. It is unsatisfactory. It is not permanent. That happiness is definitely not permanent. So again, there is a dukkha. So this habitual tendencies of having, this is the main reason of dukkha. Which habitual tendencies as condition, birth comes to be. With birth as condition, aging and death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair comes to be. Such is the origin of this whole mass of suffering. We will stop till here. So, how the suffering starts? It starts because we start craving for the feelings and not the outside object. That is why whenever a thought or anything feelings comes and we immediately 6 hours it, we start getting the relief from the craving. And this is how we can destroy the craving permanently. Any questions from your side? Okay. We will stop here. Maybe we'll continue next time. May suffering ones will share the merit. May suffering ones be suffering free, and the fear struck fearlessly. May the grieving shed all grief, and may all beings find relief. May all beings share this merit that we have thus acquired for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness. May beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty power, share this merit of ours. May they long protect the Buddha dispensation. Sāvatthī.